Oliver, I don't think that's on.
What's not?
It's not, you have to switch it on.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, pretty good before.
Testing, 1, 2, 3, yeah, I think we're good. Yep, it's on. Okay, so, for those of this will be my last meeting as your moderator. Back in the old day, when we would transact many things from the floor.
Jessica Agnesons Peru.
Deb Linus from Weston.
Randy Lowe, I'm the superintendent for the VRSU.
John Wilson, Manchester.
Jeff Wilson, Manchester.
Ben Freeman, Landgrove.
Sue Wilborn, I'm the Director of Finance for the VRSU.
Sandra Pinsnall, I'm the clerk of the board.
Excellent. So Herb, I'll turn it back over to you.
Well, thank you very much for coming to the 8th annual meeting of the Taconic and Green Regional School District. Can you hear me okay? Okay. I just want to call your attention to one error in the printed report here. On page 1, Andy Dahlstrom appears to be the member who lives in Peru. He actually resigned, and Jessica Agnesons here is the member from Peru. So the picture and the name ought to be different. I want to thank my fellow board members and our district officers for their service, and this is my last time I can do that. And I want to thank Oliver for running the meetings ever since this was formed. I want to say how much I appreciate the way he's done it. I also particularly want to recognize Deb Linus, who's our member from Weston. She has served ever since the beginning. I think she's been on a school board in this, what's now this district, since 2007, and I really want to thank her for what she's done. Got a few general comments before we discuss specific articles in the warning. I want to say the board, Randy Lowe, has functioned as our chief executive, and we're also very grateful to the teachers, the paraeducators, and the other staff in our schools and in the supervisory union office. We still suffer from a shortage of teachers and aides. If you look at pages 15 and 17 in the report, page 15 and then on page 31, item 17, you'll see that we simply have a number of vacancies that we have not been able to fill. This is not unique in Vermont, but it doesn't make it any better for our schools. If you know teachers who might want to move here, or brand new teachers who might want to start here, please encourage them. We may need them. As you can see from the report, some positions are still not filled. Now, granted, having unfilled positions allows us to save money, but operating shorthanded is not good for our students. Let me ask you at this time, is there anybody representing the middle school committee who wants to report anything beyond what's on page 28 of the district report? And I also want to call your attention to the fact that we have a meeting of the board on March 17th that will deal with the school reorganization issue. Okay, some comments on articles in the warning, which begins on page 3. Article 4 concerns the location of next year's meetings. I believe there's going to be a motion to hold next year's meeting at the Sunderland Elementary School. This is the only one of our 5 schools that has not yet hosted a meeting because the pandemic interrupted the normal rotation. When we met in person, we wanted to rotate the annual meetings and the board meetings. Obviously, there are trade-offs here. It's easier for folks to get to Manchester than it is to get to Sunderland in some cases, but we thought as a matter of fairness, we'd at least make a motion that you folks get to decide about whether we're going to have it at Sunderland next year. If you skip down to Article 8, which has to do with borrowing, this is a routine item school boards do this to tide us over until tax payments arrive. Nothing unusual about that. If you look at Article 9, the spending on the regular budget is up 2.2% if revenue is not subtracted, and there's more detail on page 25 of the green cover report. As shown on pages 24 and 36, the spending per weighted pupil is actually a 5% decrease compared to the state's estimate that school districts were going to have a 7% increase overall. Now, there's a different figure in the warning. That's the 4.4% figure, and our business manager can correct me if I've misunderstood. I believe that is spending per unweighted pupil.
It is per weighted, but the number is a little different simply because we had an updated count.
Okay, so an old figure on weighted pupils. As you can see on page 22, the weighting counts some pupils as more than one if they're, for example, an English language learner or in some other group that requires extra resources. The state changed the weighting formula fairly recently. The budget does not use any of the tax stabilization reserve for the reasons given on page 32. One is that some expenses are hard to predict. Secondary enrollment increases could break the budget. Second, a stabilization fund, it only postpones a tax increase for 1 year unless the education spending. You rely on using the tax stabilization fund in the year when you stop doing it, there's the tax calculations in this report are only estimates. Sets essentially the tax rate only after the districts report their budget seasons. As most of you know, Vermont relies heavily on the real estate tax to fund education. This dates from when most people depended on how much property they owned, but this relationship of ability to pay to property gradually disappeared. And some folks had to choose between paying real estate taxes they could barely afford or selling their homes. Added income sensitivity, allowing tax on homesteads of many people to be paid on the basis of income if their income was no more than $115,000. The result is that currently over 56% of the residents of the district don't pay the tax rate we see in our reports, and this is shown on page 35. Because Vermont relies heavily on the real estate tax, it's important that property is taxed the same way in every town. Depending on when towns last appraised, this wasn't always true. So the legislature added something called the common level of appraisal. This adjusts the education tax rate depending on whether a town over or under appraises. This eliminates the advantage of owning property in an underappraised town and the disadvantage of owning property in an overappraised town. Another consideration here is that the budget reduces the tax rate in every one of the 9 towns in the district. And you'll see information on page 35 about the home state tax rates and how they would apply, for example, to a property worth $100,000. I want to call your attention to Article 10, which is secondary tuition. We pay Burr & Burton Academy's rate for Vermont independent schools. By law, the state, for other independents, we pay the state average or the announced rate for the public if it's another high school. Unlike most Vermont districts, we don't operate a high school. So what happens is described on page 29. Burr & Burton's rate is the lowest tuition charged by a private school in the district. Unless we want our own high school or find another good school with a lower rate, we pay what Burr & Burton charges. This year we asked Burr & Burton to increase its tuition as little as possible. As you can see from page 67, Burr & Burton will charge 4.8% more next year. This comes out of our overall budget, which is in Article 9. Please note that our overall budget is only up 2.2%. That's before you subtract revenue. Articles 11 through 13 have to do with reserve funds. We have reserve funds so that when we encounter a major expense for a repair or a replacement, we don't have a sudden tax rate increase to pay for it. Details are on page 31. Finally, Article 14, candidates for school board. Running is not as easy as it used to be because you need 30 signatures from voters somewhere in the 9 towns that are part of the district. In some of the small pre-merger districts, 3 signatures got you on the ballot. Everyone in all 9 towns votes for all of these positions. For example, I live in Mount Tabor, but I can vote to fill the seat that is reserved for someone who lives in Peru. More details on page 8. I think, Mr. Moderator, at some point, would it be okay if we invited any candidates who want to speak? Words?
Yeah, let's do that afterwards. So I think we'll finish this up, and then I'm going to turn it over to Randy, and then we're going to bring on our legislators.
And I just want to call your attention, again, this is all 9 towns, to the fact that I think there's going to be a write-in candidate for the person who lives in Weston. If you haven't already voted, please vote on town meeting day, and please note that the voting hours differ from town to town. As Oliver said, I regret to say this is my last meeting as chair of this school board. My wife and I have decided that our house on South End Road in Mount Tabor is not the best place to age in place, and we're returning to Rutland after 21 years down here. When that happens, probably this spring, I must resign from this board. I greatly appreciate the board's having me chair it since it was formed in 2017. I'll miss dealing with a group of people who are so good, thoughtful, and conscientious. I wish them and the superintendent all the best as they deal with proposals that would fundamentally change how schools are run in the state.
So I just wanted to take a minute to acknowledge Herb's service. He will be with us for another couple months, but this is a public meeting, and hopefully there's a lot of people watching who can join me in thanking him. Herb, how long were you on UD 23 and Mount Tabor boards?
I think I started there in 2006.
So, we have a couple of people, Deb Linus, who I get to sit next to tonight, and Herb, who have been serving on school boards for like decades. And it's a huge commitment, and as a superintendent, to have board members who are as committed to the community, to our kids, to our schools, with a thoughtfulness and professionalism that we don't always see. It's been a real pleasure and a privilege to work with both of you. And Herb, thank you for your service as chair of the board. You are a strong advocate for everything that we do, for holding us to doing what's right for everyone. So thank you, and I would like us to just give one more round. And then I just want to introduce, we've got some folks from our principals, and Caitlin Cavagnino. Caitlin's here as our Director of Special Education. Johanna Laskowski-Doak is the school. Next to her is Harrison Schulman, who's the principal of Sunderland Elementary School. Carolyn Prillo could not be with us tonight. She is engaged in a really robust leadership training with the Waddington Institute, and she is heading to tomorrow's event this evening. So I know we have other teachers and staff in the audience, so if you work in one of our schools or in the central office, I would love for you to just raise your hand and show people who you are. Thank you all for your service. We are really, really fortunate to have such incredible people. So thank you. And that's all I've got.
Awesome. Okay, so what I'm going to do for the rest of the meeting, I think the run of show here will be I'm going to invite our local legislators who are joining us this evening to say a few words, and I'll ask them to take that in turn. I'd ask everybody to hold off on any questions, but if at the end of that, if it looks like we have some time and folks want to ask some questions, we can put them in the hot seat. And then after that, we will hear from Mark Tashton and Colin Igo from Burn and Long Trail, respectively, to speak about their schools as it pertains to Article 10, and we can certainly entertain some questions there. And then I think from there, we'll move on to candidate introductions, anybody who's interested in running for the board. And then after that, we will go through Articles 1 through 7, and when we get to Article 5, I think we can use that time for any Q&A of the board. So that's, absent objection, that's how I plan to sort of run the rest of the meeting here. So with that, I know we have several legislators online. I will call those who I can see. I did speak with Senator Bongartz, who indicated that he was not able to make it this evening, and he gave me a letter to read on his behalf, and I just want to make sure he's not on the screen. So I'm going to just start, I'm going to read the letter from Senator Bongartz. And as for those of you who don't know, Senator Bongartz lives in Manchester, represents Bennington County plus Londonderry and Stratton, and is the chair of the Senate Education Committee. So his letter, I will read to you in its entirety. He said, "To the residents of the Taconic and Green community, I'm sorry I cannot be with you tonight. At the moment this is read on my behalf, I will be in a meeting in Montpelier in connection with my job as chair of the Senate Education Committee and our work to overhaul the delivery and financing of education in Vermont. The administration has proposed an overhaul of Vermont's education infrastructure with two main elements: switching to a foundation system for funding and moving from 52 supervisory unions and 119 school districts to a system with no supervisory unions and 5 large districts. There is something like consensus that we have too many SUs and districts, and that switch to a foundation formula makes sense. The work of the Senate Education Committee to date has been focused on the governance portion of the proposal, while the Senate Finance Committee has proposed the funding portion. The committees are in close contact. Until this past Friday, we had received from the administration only PowerPoints and not very specific verbal testimony. So it has been hard to focus on specifics. We have now received some draft language and in fact began our first walkthrough of the language with Secretary Saunders today. As the process moves forward, we have to recognize that which works well within the current system and not get sucked into a one-size-fits-all mentality. Specifically, our system of independent schools and school choice operating side by side with our public school system must be maintained. There's a very nuanced sauce requiring our independent schools to be as successful as they are. As the 15-year chair of the Burn Board, I understand the required ingredients and will do everything in my power to ensure they are not disturbed. In the meantime, I urge the voters of the Taconic and Green District to approve this year's school budget and thereby show the world we are united. Again, I apologize for not being with you tonight, but rest assured, I understand our corner of Vermont, and I am working in our collective best interests. I will also be around for the legislative break next week and look forward to using that time to talk with the people I serve. So with that, I'll start with the folks on Zoom, and Kathleen, you're first on the list, so I'll go around and give you each an opportunity to speak, and then I'll come back to you, Sandy, if you want to clean up.
Okay.
So, Kathleen, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes. The floor is yours.
Great. I didn't prepare remarks, so mostly here high level, I can take the same approach as Seth, which is to say that on the House side anyway, and we have Representative Hunter here who serves on House Education, so I'll defer to him. But similarly, the governor, delivered to the House a pretty high-level plan, and I believe that we received language to start to try to flesh out the details of that plan. So in both the House Education and the House Ways and Means Committee, we haven't been waiting for his high-level plan. We knew what direction he was heading in, and both committees have been taking weeks and weeks and hours of testimony to try to start to flesh out the details and work through all the challenges. Rep. Hunter and I have been really devoting our recent coffee hours almost solely to this topic. It's what people want to talk about, and we'll be continuing to do that. And with that, I know we have a lot of folks on Zoom, so I will turn it over to whoever is next.
So looking at the screen, I think I see Senator Plunkett.
No.
No?
I think it's
Oh, Chris Pritchard.
Representative Pritchard.
Yes.
Yeah. Chris Pritchard. I'm in on this meeting. The districts that I am proactive and get as much learning experience as I can and participate in these things. So, it's the education bill that's coming up is a heavy lift, and it's going to require a lot of work, and and I think it's going to require a lot of work by everybody, regardless if you're on the education committee or not. So I'm just trying to be a part of the process and educate myself as best as I can, so when the time comes, we can make the right decision for all the folks. So thanks for letting me be in on this.
Great, thank you. Representative Durfee, you're next on the screen.
All right, great. Thank you, and thanks to the board for inviting us this evening. I think the district is extraordinarily fortunate to have as many representatives who are deeply involved, closely involved with this process. Senator Bongart's chairing the Senate Education Committee is a very big deal, and having Representative Hunter serve in that role as well. I am not on either education committee, but the committee I chair, which is the Agriculture, Food, Resiliency, and Forestry Committee, has spent a lot of time this session, again, looking at universal school meals, which are critical, obviously, for students, meals, that is. And it's a factor in the education fund as well. 2 years ago, when we first passed universal law, we did a deep dive. We had a unanimous vote of my bipartisan committee 2 weeks ago recommending that we retain universal school meals. The governor's budget proposal has called to repeal that. I'm pretty confident in saying that that won't be happening. There's wide support across the political spectrum for this program in both the House and the Senate. So I'll be happy to answer any questions about that when it comes around to question time and all. I'll stop there and let's move on to the next person.
Alrighty, Representative Hunt.
Pretty sure I won't be able to say anything too articulate at this moment, but I'll tell you what I'm thinking. This is the strangest time to be a freshman legislator, and having spent my career in the classroom, 27, teaching English at Burton Academy, I am well aware of our public schools, our independent schools in the region, and I literally spent the afternoon in a mind-numbing the governor's bill, about 109 pages of it, we did not get finished. And I will tell you that there's a lot I am going to read that text like I would read any text. I will go through it. I will bring to my committee what I know about where, the schools that serve our area. We've been in great contact with Randy Lowe, who's just an amazing super. Right now I am in the midst with all of this, and sugarcoated. It's complicated, but I'm hoping that we can come out in another month with at least something that lets us continue serving our students and delivering an excellent education. So,
Great.
thanks.
Thank you. Representative Morrow.
Hello, thank you for having me. I want to give a special shout out to Deb Linus for all her years of service from Weston. Thank you, Deb. Seeing that room brings me back to my years as a school board member at Floodbrook. It's a great place. I don't have a whole lot to add. You've heard from Rob, the committee, and Seth, who's also on the Senate committee. I just want to, there's a couple of things that, besides the education committees, there's a lot of work going on.
Oh, we lost you, Chris.
Besides the, can you hear me?
You're back. You blinked out for a minute.
Okay, so I was just saying that besides the education committees, there's a lot of work on this going on in the Ways and Means and Finance committees, because obviously there's a lot of taxation issues that we're dealing with. So there's a lot of collaboration and cross work on that. So that's just something to keep in mind as we're trying to figure out how to keep the property taxes down. The other thing I want to emphasize, which I think Seth might have mentioned, is that this is going to be a multi-year process. We cannot do this thoughtfully this session in the next few weeks. So really, overhauling the whole education system in a thoughtful way is going to take a few years. And so we should just prepare for that and figure out how we can stage it and reduce costs and keep property taxes in line. And so those are all our goals up here. And I'm sure Rob's going to figure it all out.
No pressure. I see another face, but I think it's somebody in the room here, not a legislator.
It is.
I don't reckon. Okay. Representative Pincinel.
Well, I'll just agree with everything they've said. I serve on the Government Operations and Military Affairs Committee, so I'm not seeing a whole lot of the education stuff coming through my committee as of yet. Certainly hearing a lot of it in the halls and in the cafeteria, but it's disheartening to see what they're trying to do to our independent schools, and nobody really wants to get into a conversation with you about it because they just don't like it. And it's hard to convince those that don't like it what a wonderful thing we have. And so it's frustrating, and I get very red-faced and angry, and there's a couple of the guys from the north that don't even want to talk to me about it anymore. So it's disheartening. Again, it's going to be devastating, and it's going to be a lot of twisting of arms to get them to bend towards us. So that's it.
Okay. So at this time, I'll open up for questions to any of our legislators. Okay. Silent group. So does everybody, by the way, have a copy of this booklet? And you all paid attention to her description, because there's going to be an exit ticket when you leave the room.
No, they have more of them.
Okay. Final call for any questions for our legislators. There's a few small things happening in Montpelier that might impact our education system. Now's your opportunity. Yes? Whomever you would like to address. Mr. Cohen, if you, Rabbi Cohen, if you
Just for anyone on the screen, and to incorporate our education system, there was a discussion of sending towns. And do we know if that is being preserved in the best that we've seen so far? Because that really is the signature of how we do education in this part of the world.
Would anybody on the screen, I hate to put anybody on the spot, but I think it's a good question.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, Michael?
Yeah.
Oh,
Can you hear me? The question is whether the concept of sending towns is maintained in any of the proposed legislation that you've seen so far.
From a
I
tax
think what it is that, and anybody can jump in here, that what we have right now are non-operating towns. We have a lot of towns in Vermont that do not have schools. I mean, really, the basis of Burn-Burton is the school, right? Like Manchester never built a school. So there are non-operating districts that tuition their students to certain schools. And under this plan, there would be no more non-operating districts. So in other words, they would have feeding patterns for certain schools, which is kind of strange to think about, kind of yes and no, and maybe they're going to say something like, well, the students who went to this school last year are going to go to this school. So that's, I mean, these are some of the details that aren't necessarily clearly defined. And I would say, from my point of view and from many people's point of view, this has been the frustration over the last 2 months. You know, we had a grand plan dropped on us, and we've been hearing in drips and dribbles little bits about it. The whole while, you know, having these, and for every question, a dozen more questions. So, you know, the idea is that there are no more non-operating districts, that everyone will be assigned to school. I don't know if that's an answer to the question, Michael, or not.
I just got a hand signal from Rabbi Cohen. I think you've answered his question.
For now.
For now. To be continued.
Feeling good.
Other questions? Okay. Quiet group. So, with that, I think our legislators on the screen, you're off the hook. Feel free to stay with us for the rest of the meeting. I know some of you may have other commitments, so understand if you need to leave us. But with that, at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mark and Colin to speak to their schools relative to Article 10. So, coin toss, who goes first? Mark, you're standing first, so you go first.
All right. I'll let you. Okay, thank you. Mike's a little high. Oh, sorry. All right, hi everyone, I'm Mark Tashton. I'm the head of Burn-Burton Academy. This is my 17th year at Burn-Burton. I know this is supposed to be Article 10, but I'd also like to address the fact that what I'm really doing is representing Burn-Burton, and I want to talk a little bit about what's going on in Montpelier, because as we know, as a state, taxes have been going up rapidly, and the governor has, as you heard, presented plans for substantial, major education reform. What I want to say is that Burn-Burton has existed since 1829 to serve the public. And I'm going to speak for Long Trail for a moment because it's your 49th anniversary. And Long Trail was formed also to serve a segment of that public. And my sincere hope as we move through this education reform, and I think it's a community hope, is that we continue to be able to provide the kind of quality education at the high school level that I think our towns and our residents and our communities have been appreciative of and supportive of. And so we're paying very close attention to what's going on in Montpelier. And I want to make clear tonight, and I want to make clear in Montpelier, that we think we're part of the solution too. The state has a cost problem, and I think the overall goal of the governor, understandably, is to bring education costs under control, while also talking about quality and improving quality of education, preschool through 12th grade and beyond. And that's in this state's interest, and it's in our community interest. And so again, any way we can participate in that, we want to be part of the solution, not standing in the way of the solution. So that's number one. Number two, Seth Bongartz wrote that letter that Oliver just shared, Mr. Moderator shared, excuse me. And I think he ended saying something along the lines of supporting this budget, not just the Burton tuition with Article 10, but also, I think it's Article 9, the school budget. Supporting that is a really important statement to Montpelier about how this community views this unique and I think we all agree, powerful partnership between independent schools and public schools. So I'm going to urge you not just to vote yes to Article 10, the Burton portion, but that this whole budget should be approved. And I think it's an easy ask because taxes are going down, and so it's a good time to make that ask. But that's also part of the messaging to Montpelier so that they know that this community cares very much about education. In terms of where we are with Burton, I will tell you what many of you already know, because I see a lot of parents and former parents in the audience. We're almost 800 students this year, 793, 94, something like that. We have 549, I believe, students from the Taconic and Green School District. So the Taconic and Green is most definitely our largest and most important school district. And we've structured this school recognizing the diversity of the community. So we offer, we have 130 students, or over 130 students receiving special services. Over 220 of our students are part of our Student Success Program, seeking to become first-generation college-bound in their families. We have a Target program, which is an alternative education program, serving students who get on our campus and it's just too much. And so they get an alternative education in very small classes, highly personalized with, often associated with internships, and also often associated with study down at the Career and Technical Education Center in Bennington. We have athletics. Somewhere in here I listed how many, we have 17 sports, 46 interscholastic athletic teams. We have performing arts, we have all kinds of visual arts, sculptural arts, and the whole purpose is so that when you have 800 kids in one community, that doesn't mean they have to move in lockstep and follow the same path through the school. We have all kinds of opportunities so kids can explore their interests, then come out of Burton either going on to college or going on to college or productive avenues that can be non-college avenues. We have students who join the military, who take on apprenticeships and develop, going to jobs and careers, hopefully with aspiration to continue their own personal growth. I'm proud of the school. I've been here, as I said, 17 years. I have 5 kids and they're all going through Burton, and as a parent, I couldn't be happier. We moved up here a long time ago from New York City. I've never been in a community like this, and I grew up in Philadelphia, and to be in this place, this place called Vermont is really special. I've learned so much being at Burton, and I've learned so much being part of a community with all of you and many, many others. And it's something I think to be cherished and nourished and preserved. And I think that both speaks to Burton, and I think it speaks to the quality of the people in this room and many, many people outside of it. So I thank you for your support. I'll turn the microphone over to Colin, and then I think we're going to answer any questions if there are. So thank you, everyone.
I think next year I'm going to go first because Mark stole a lot of the talking points. So I don't want to. I don't want to. Just echo Mark's sentiments, but they're genuine. And I should also say that thank you to Mark and to our colleagues at Burton. I know the partnership between our two schools is very real, and the partnership with the Taconic and Green Board. I thank all of you for a very thankless volunteer service that you put forth for the community. It's important, and I'm very grateful. And before I talk about Long Trail a little bit, I think to reiterate what Mark said of just how special education is in our community, and that you don't have to look very far, whether it's nationally, to see the challenges we face in our education system, particularly in rural places. And the fact that we all live in a community that values education, that has people committed to education, that show up to meetings, and that our children, who then become adults, who then function in the society, are well educated, is the most important thing. And I say that not just as an educator, but as a parent of 3 young kids, my wife who works in the community as well, that for the two of us, and I think probably for almost everyone in this room, that's the foundation of a strong community and certainly a strong future. And so as we navigate a lot of uncertainty at the state level, I hope you know my commitment, Long Trail's commitment, and I think all of our peer educators' commitment to making sure that we do everything to ensure our students, our children, still have access to an excellent education. So I'll talk a little bit about Long Trail in the context of Article 10. And I think with everything that we do, it starts and ends with mission and values. And at Long Trail, our mission is to create lifelong learners who fulfill their individual potential in an engaging, supportive community. And we do that through core values of kindness, integrity, openness, responsibility, and stewardship. And in the complexities that accompany adolescence, of which there are endless complexities, that grounding of mission and values is really important in whatever may happen in a young person's development. And so, when I was thinking about tonight, what would be most helpful, I was reflecting on 3 years ago, this is my third, and I often heard that, and I think I even mentioned it last year at this meeting, and I want all of you to know about Long Trail. It's a really magical place. Of that, we serve 260 students in grades 6 through 12. Have students from 38 different towns in Vermont, 3 towns in New York, and that come from a geographical range. We're is the acronym for that, which is a globally recognized academic curriculum that not only teaches content, but really teaches skills and dispositions and attributes that prepare students for success in college, but more importantly in life, things that can translate well beyond the classroom. We have a very robust program outside of the classroom. In fact, right now, actually the game, it's probably almost over. Our boys basketball just tipped off a playoff game at 7 o'clock up at Pulteney, which programs at the college level with students from around the world, living in the dorms, experiencing college life, and things that we just can't do here in southern Vermont, whether that's mini med school, mini vet school, engineering and entrepreneurship, but a robust programming that's a partnership, a joint venture with Tufts and Long Trail. And this summer we'll be sending 7 students to that program. We have a really strong partnership with Merck Forest and Farmland that's long-standing but has really years. It includes, in addition to academic work and our Mountain Day and community events, We have students who are doing year-long internships at Merck Forest, some of them to prepare for a career, some of them to do academics. We're not just a hidden gem, but we're part of this community and want to make sure that we develop strong partnerships both locally and far away. And so just to close, I want to again invite you all to come take a look at those core values in action. And I want to say one last time thank you to the Taconic Green Board for this really, really thoughtful budget that I know is not easy to develop, and really encourage you all, in addition to Article 10, but to support this budget that not only allows us to deliver excellent education, but do it in a fiscally responsible way. I know that's not easy, so thank you very much. I look forward to supporting it on Tuesday when we vote, and I hope that everyone does too. Thank you.
So any questions for Mark or Colin on Article 10? Okay. We would love to hear from any...
Yes, we have 4 seats that are reserved for residents of the 4 largest towns, Londonderry, Danby, Dorset, and Manchester. Those are in addition to the 9 seats that are each reserved for 1 resident of each of the 9 towns in the district. So those 4 seats are up for election this year. In addition, we have the member from Peru, whom we appointed, Jessica here, and she's on the ballot to serve a full term. Let me just correct something I said earlier, by the way. I said there was going to be a write-in for Weston. We had hoped there could be. We weren't able to arrange that in time, so instead, Deb is going.
Wonderful. So, are there candidates in the room for any of these open seats who'd like to introduce themselves?
You should stand up. Wave. Yes.
I'm not a candidate, but I just want to explain that David Chandler, who is actually our board clerk, would be here tonight, but he's got a very bad cold. I was in the meeting with him just the other day and pretty under the weather, and he is one of the candidates.
Going on with reconfiguration here and statewide, and I'd like to see it through. So vote for me.
And just a reminder, because the system we have, it's confusing, but with a good purpose. So there are names on the ballot associated with certain towns, but we all vote at large. So anybody you see on the ballot, you can vote for. And Alex, if I recall, you're from Danby, right?
I am, yes.
Okay. But anybody from any of the 9 towns can vote for any of the candidates. And then Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff Wilson from Manchester. I'm running for re-election. I've served on the board for 4 years. Look forward to, hopefully, if I can win the vote this time around, serve another 3 years. Lived in Manchester for 39 years. Was a town manager there for 17, state rep for 6 years, married to the former superintendent of T&G, who, BRSU I should say, who often gives me some advice, whether solicited or not. But it's been a great board to work with. I think everybody is very cooperative and civil, and I've really enjoyed it, and hope I can again serve the community and serve the voters of the region. Thank you.
And I'm Lindsay. I'm from Danby. I've been on the board for 6 years now. I'm also on the BRSU board and the Community Engagement Committee, and I have 2 kids that right now attend Courier. So I look forward to hopefully...
Not seeing any. All those in favor of the motion to direct the clerk to cast a single ballot in favor of Mr. O'Keefe, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please signify by saying nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Congratulations. The gavel is yours as of July 1st, 2025. The next item of business, Article number 2, is to elect a school district clerk to serve also from July 1st of this year to June 30th of next year. Are there any nominations? Yes.
I nominate Sandra Pinsalt.
Okay. Sandra Pincinel has been nominated. Are there any other nominations? Not seeing any, I would entertain a motion.
I move that the clerk cast one ballot for herself.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Dale, seconded by Mr. Ogden, to direct the clerk to cast a single ballot for herself, absent any objection. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 And those opposed, nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have elected Sandra Pincinel as your clerk. Congratulations, and thank you for taking the minutes. Article number 3 is to elect a school district treasurer to serve from July 6th. I'm not seeing our treasurer, which means he will be nominated.
Well, I nominate Andrew School District Treasurer.
Excellent. So there's a nomination for Andrew McKeever.
That the clerk cast one ballot for the new district treasurer who's continuing.
Excellent. So is there a second to the motion?
My second.
Second.
It's been seconded, so it's been moved and seconded to direct the clerk to cast the ballot for Andrew McKeever to continue to serve as our district treasurer.
Sorry, who's second?
And I'm blank from Texas.
Jessica.
Jessica.
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry. I'm now forever going to know you as the person from Texas. So, Jessica, I'm trying to print that.
I'm from Peru now.
Yes. You have to survive winter first. But,
We're almost there.
so, I lost my train of thought. Did we vote on that?
No.
No, thank you. Okay. So, all those in favor of directing the clerk to cast a single ballot for Andrew McKeever as your treasurer, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed signify by saying nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. And Andrew McKeever remains our treasurer. So next is Article number 5, which is to hear and act upon the reports of the school directors. Oh, sorry. Oh, yes, thank you. So Article number 4 is to determine the date and time on which the 2026 annual meeting of the T&G district shall be held and where such meeting shall be held. And as a reminder, the chair provided a little bit of background on the procedure over the past several years. So at this time, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to set the date at Monday, March 2nd, 2026, hosted at the Sunderland Elementary School in Sunderland.
Aren't we Tuesdays?
So let's make sure we have the time. We messed that up one year.
Let me just, yeah.
7 o'clock.
Oh.
7 o'clock, I'll say 7 o'clock, but I'm just double checking.
Yeah.
So, and I'll repeat it in just 1 second.
So I'm going to dispense with the formalities and just be super clear. So we're going to be in Sunderland at the Sunderland Elementary School at 7 o'clock on
Monday, March 2nd.
Yes.
Monday, March 2nd. No.
Yes.
We do not want to have it March 2nd, because that's when all the towns have their
Right.
informational meeting.
Right.
Must be the week
So we'd have
before.
to do it the Monday before, which would be February 23rd.
Which everyone is on break. So, because that's the election.
So now the meeting gets interesting.
Okay.
Well,
Yes, I'll call on Mr. Ogden.
I'm going to second the motion so we can discuss.
Yes, thank
Yes.
you. Yeah, so the motion, I will restate the motion. I will do my best to restate the motion. Leo has moved to set at the Sunderland Elementary School at, we will say for the moment, March 2nd at 7 o'clock. Is there a second? It's and seconded by Mr. Ogden. Now, the question is up for discussion. Representative Pincinel.
I was just saying that would be a conflict with the towns having their informational meetings the night before town meeting.
Okay.
What time is that meeting?
Most towns meet at 7 o'clock on Monday night.
Randy, can I
Yeah.
speak?
Manchester's the other one.
President's Week is the 16th, but we have the week off afterwards. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay, because we must have switched the calendars.
Correct.
Statewide
Okay.
school calendar.
Yeah.
Solid. Okay.
So our options are to do an earlier meeting at
5
o'clock, 4 o'clock, or Sunday night, but I've got Meadow Week, so if we do Sunday, we have to do that a little bit earlier too, like 5 o'clock.
Or do the
I don't think we should do it during school vacation week.
No.
I understand that.
With the
And I don't think, if we're in Sunderland, I feel like it would be tricky for folks to come from Sunderland after our meeting to make it back here by 7 o'clock. I'm assuming that there's this Floodbrook town meeting, or is there town meetings for the Floodbrook region here on town meeting days?
Those are during the day.
Yeah, what are the conflicts? Which towns have conflicts on the 2nd?
Dorset.
Just Dorset?
Dorset, Danby,
Landgrove.
Peru, Landgrove. I mean, go through the,
Yeah.
I mean, all of
Yeah.
them.
So the
Well,
mountain
it's helpful
towns
to know
are
which
during the
ones
day,
do, so we
and the
think
ones
about
down in the valley are,
In the evening.
yeah.
So
So
could I,
It's night up here.
what if I suggested that we move to MEMS so it's closer to the towns at 5 o'clock on Monday?
I'll just point out the member from Sunderland is making that suggestion.
Yes, I know. I'm trying to, you know,
24th, there's no...
we have no, the districts all have break, so all the schools would be closed. People would be away. Tell me again what's on Sunday? Meadowy at 7?
Meadowy, but they're, I guess, all, full transparency, they haven't had their annual meeting, it's not till tomorrow. So
We got first dibs, is that what you're saying?
I'm just being honest, they haven't voted on it, so if Taconic and Green picks a time, then
Randy, what time did they say, 7?
they were gonna be at 7.
Could we go the next week, March 2nd, before town meeting?
No, that's a conflict, Dick, is that the...
You can look at 7 on the Sunday, if that's what you'd like to move, and then I can work between now and tomorrow night on Meadowies.
Okay, so I'm hearing a consensus, and I'm going to call for an amendment here in a moment, but I want to make sure we're all clear. So Sunday, I don't know what day that is.
March 1st.
March 1st, okay, at 7 o'clock?
It's just a bad day.
Yeah, but... Randy, you feel okay moving, driving the 40 minutes from Sunderland to Meadowy? Or...
I will figure out what I need to do.
Okay.
So hold on, Jeff, and then Dick.
Maybe.
Yeah, I was fine with Mel's recommendation. I thought that was a good idea. 5 o'clock on the Monday in Manchester.
5 o'clock on the Monday in Manchester.
I think our meeting's at 6 up here.
It is, the point was, I was hoping to go to Sunderland because we haven't been there since we were the TNG in 2018.
Okay, so we've got a bunch of questions queuing up. I'm going to go to
Yeah.
Mr. Ogden and then the audience.
That is a problem.
The date to Sunday, the 1st of March, leaving location at Sunderland.
And the time?
The time at 7.
Okay, so Mr. Ogden has moved to amend the motion that's on the table so that the meeting would be held on March 1st at 7 o'clock in Manchester? Sunderland.
Second.
It's been seconded by Mr. Dale. We're now on the amendment to the motion. Is there any discussion, Question, audience.
I just wanted to, I actually have the schedule for this year's, all of the town meetings within the district. So if it was going to, I know you've amended it, so we're looking at Sunday, which doesn't conflict with any, but Monday, Dorset and Landgrove are the only two that are on Monday, and they're both at 6 and 7. So
Dorset's that.
there are some that do meet on Tuesday. So Peru, Weston, Linden, and Lynn Hall all meet between 9 and 10 in the morning on town meeting day. Manchester, of course, meets, and Londonderry at 9:30. And then Manchester's Saturday.
So just so we're, because now I'm confused, the first, is that a Sunday?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, that's a Sunday, but nobody's meeting on the Sunday.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Good reason.
Okay, just making sure here. Okay, so we have a motion on the table, we have an amendment to the underlying motion. And the amendment is to change the date to Sunday, March 1st. The location remains unchanged at Sunderland, and the time remains unchanged at 7 o'clock. So the only motion is to change the date to March 1st, which is a Sunday. Is there any further discussion? Okay. Hearing none, I will call for a vote on the amendment. So the amendment is to change the underlying motion to read March 1st, Sunday, March 1st. All those in favor of amending the motion to Sunday, March 1st, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Okay, I heard a very silent nay, but I'm going to say that the ayes have this one.
Good call.
So we are now on the underlying motion, and the underlying motion now is shall the voters set the 2026 annual meeting of the Taconic and Green Regional School District for Sunday, March 1st, at Sunderland Elementary School at 7 o'clock in the evening. Is there any discussion? Is that clear to everybody? We're going to be in Sunderland, Sunday, 7 o'clock, next March 1st. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. I think the ayes have it. The ayes do have it, and the motion carries. So we have set March 1st, Sunderland, 7 o'clock. Okay, so now we are at Article 5, which is to hear and act upon reports of the school directors and officers. We had an excellent overview earlier in the evening. Unless the board has anything else they want to add, I think now would be a good time for Q&A.
Voted on it?
If you have any questions before you pull your exit ticket, now's the time to ask your board.
I'm not sure we vote on it. But yeah, I guess we do.
Everybody knows what the CLA is. Everybody knows what a long-term average daily membership is.
It's all in the book.
Good.
It'll be a test.
Okay, good. There's no test now. You guys all passed. We're good. We can move on now to Article number 6, which is to discuss articles to be voted upon by Australian ballot. I think we've also covered this, but this is really your final opportunity. If you have questions on any of the items that will be voted upon by Australian ballot on Tuesday, March 4th of this year, now is a good time to you have a captive audience here. They're eager to demonstrate their knowledge of all 100 and so many pages here of this report. Nope? Okay. So that brings us to Article number 7, which is to transact any other business which may legally come before this meeting, and as a reminder, there's really nothing that legally can come at this article. So I would be happy to entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we recess until the voting by Australian ballot.
So Mr. Ogden has moved to recess, and I will entertain a second to that motion, although we've had a long-standing disagreement as to whether we recess or whether we adjourn. It's been moved and seconded to recess the meeting.
Dick Dale did that.
Dick Dale, second, yes. All those in favor of the motion to recess, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you for your service, Mr.
Those
Moderator.
opposed?
Right, there you go.
The ayes appear to have it, the ayes do have it. We now do stand in adjournment. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
One question.
Oh, yeah, and as you're leaving, I lied, there is an exit ticket. Please sign the